Okay, I'll just double check. There we go. All right. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 8 of the Spring to Simple Decluttering Challenge. We have passed the halfway mark. We're on the home stretch now. So today we're continuing to work in the kitchen. We're going to do one of my favorite decluttering tasks. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit, sorry. Oh, there we go. That's a little better. We're going to do one of my favorite decluttering tasks and focus on clearing the flat surfaces. So we're going to focus on countertops, your kitchen table or dining table, and the front of your fridge. And this is actually probably one of the highest impact, good morning Cheryl, the highest impact things you can do in your kitchen, because getting rid of the surface clutter not only clears a lot of visual clutter, it makes your kitchen look tidier and less messy just in general. It also makes it easier to use your kitchen. It makes it easier to cook and clean up and do whatever else you're going to do in your kitchen. It just gives you space. It makes those things easier, less stressful, less frustrating. I know, like, when you're cleaning up, if you have a bunch of stuff on your counter, that's a bunch of stuff you have to clean around, pick up, wipe underneath it. It takes up room you might need for prep or cooking, that kind of thing. So I really find this is just a really great project to do. It's such a high impact. It gives you a lot of return for the work you put in. And I would say it's actually one of the biggest things that has changed in my like simplifying journey, going from, you know, normal counters with stuff out on them just in random places to completely clear counters. It has had such a huge impact on me, and I just love it. I just can't go back because I just love it so much. So I'm excited to share more about this today. I have found over the years that this is actually quite a controversial topic. I had no idea until I started sharing our clear countertops, but I often get a lot of pushback and a lot of, like, I won't say hate, but like people are just like, it's cold, it's sterile, it looks like no one lives there. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit at the end too and tell you that that's not really the case and why I think that. So I'll first start with just today's decluttering task, and then we'll go from there. So first we're going to focus on those 3 surfaces: the counters, the table, and the front of your fridge. And of course, do what you can in the time you have. If it, you know, it all depends on where you're starting from. If you have a lot of clutter and a lot of stuff on these surfaces, you might not be able to get to all 3, and that's okay. You know, even if you just tackle one section of your kitchen counter, that makes a difference and that adds up. So I'll talk about all 3, but again, just do what you can. If that's too much to take on today, just decide where you're going to tackle and then use the tips for that area to tackle that area. So always no pressure. It's meant to be like, just we're easing in, we're having fun, we're doing as much as we can, but we're not putting that pressure to get it perfect. It's progress, not perfection. So I'll share all 3 areas, but always know, just do what you can. So first, I'll talk about the countertops. So we know that flat surfaces tend to be like clutter magnets. Stuff just gets dropped there easily. It's easy for them to collect clutter. And the more stuff that ends up on our flat surfaces, the more stuff tends to collect there, because clutter attracts clutter. It's like it gives you permission. Once you see some stuff there, it gives you and your family permission to just add a little bit more to deal with later. So that's why clear countertops are so great, because there's less stuff out there. So automatically it's less stuff to attract and give you permission to collect more stuff on those spaces. So that's why we're doing it. So to start by gathering, like clearing off the surface wherever you're working. If that's all your countertops, if it's just one section of your countertop, whatever works, clear it off and then sort through what's there. You know, you can toss or recycle things you don't need. You can file things. You can put things away where they belong. Just basically deal with anything that doesn't belong on the counter. Deal with it first and put it where it belongs. And as you're doing that, notice what kind of stuff tends to pile up on the surface you're working on. You know, if it's paperwork, like, could you figure out a better system to help contain paperwork or help control it so it doesn't end up cluttering the whole space? If it's, I don't know, like vitamins or supplements, could you maybe find a place to keep those where they don't just end up, you know, randomly around the countertop? Whatever it is, notice what you're finding and make a plan to deal with it. So after you've done that, you've dealt with everything that doesn't belong on the space, then I encourage you to really look at what's left. Look at what's left on your countertops, what you usually keep out on that area, and just start to question if you really need it all out there. Because again, even if it's useful stuff you use on your counter, the more stuff that's on your counter, the more it's giving you permission to collect more stuff on that counter. So just really assess, do you actually need that on your counter? And this is where I encourage you to just kind of keep an open mind and experiment. Take it off your counter and just experiment with having that thing not on your counter or having clearer countertops and just see how it feels. I know lots of stuff we keep on our counters just because it's the way we've always done it. And sometimes the way we've always done it is fine, and sometimes there might be a better way, but we just have to experiment a little bit and try it. So I would just encourage you to just be open to experimenting a little bit, just trying to put stuff in cupboards or drawers or somewhere else and just see how it feels. See how it feels to use your kitchen. See how your kitchen looks. See how you feel in your kitchen. Because stuff on our counters not only takes up valuable workspace, it also adds visual clutter and it can make the space feel a little busier. So it's just interesting just to experiment. Now, you don't have to go as extreme as I have. I basically have nothing on my counters. You can choose some things that you want to keep out, but I just encourage you to play with it a little bit and just try taking the thing off. If you miss having whatever the thing is on your counter, then put it back, because then you know that works for you. But just be open to experimenting a little bit and just see what you actually really need on your counter. So the same with your table. Whether you have a dining table or a kitchen table, whichever one you want to tackle today, just do the same thing. Like, deal with everything that doesn't belong there and then really assess what's left. You might have a centerpiece on your table of some kind, and I just really want you to assess, do you really love that? Does it add value? Does it add enough value to make up for the time, you know, you're moving it to eat, or you're wiping it, wiping around it, that kind of thing? And there's no right or wrong answer. And I also encourage you to remember that it might change. Like some seasons, right now I have a centerpiece on our table, a little tray with a plant and some little things on it, and that works for me right now. I enjoy that. It brings me enough joy that I'm happy to have that. Other times, I have just had no patience for that, and it wasn't worth it for me in that season of life. A completely clear table worked better. So you don't have to pick one way and that's the way it is forever, but just kind of check in with yourself and see if that feels okay, or if you want to try something different. So I encourage you always to do that with any space, really. Just check in. Is it working for me right now? Does this feel good? And don't lock yourself into one way or the other. So, and the next surface I have is the front of your fridge. So again, if you can't tackle all of these today, that's okay. But these are just, I want to share some tips so that you can choose which surfaces you're going to tackle. So when we have stuff on the front of our fridge, it can actually add a lot of visual clutter to the kitchen and make it seem cluttered and just busier. And I actually had read a study. I wish I could find it. I'll have to look it up and see if I can link it in the group later. But it was talking about how the amount of stuff on the front of a family's fridge correlated to their tolerance of clutter in the rest of their house. So if they had more stuff on the front of their fridge, they were okay with clutter piling up in the rest of their house, basically, which is crazy. Like, I don't think it's like a cause and effect, but it was just basically like an indicator of how tolerant of clutter families would be. So that's really interesting, I thought. So, this one change could actually inspire you to become less tolerant of clutter in other spaces and, maybe make more progress in your home that way. So I would encourage you to start by clearing it off completely. Take everything off and then take a minute to just notice how the kitchen looks and feels. Just look around and notice the difference. If you have lots of stuff on your fridge, it will probably look weird. Like, it will probably look weird at first. So I really encourage you to just live with it for a little while. Don't put anything back just yet. Just live with that feeling and see how it feels. You'll get used to it, and it might be something you like. So you take everything off. The first step is to sort through everything and get rid of the stuff you don't need, the calendars that are old, the reminders that you don't need anymore. Get rid of that stuff. And then experiment living with your clear fridge. If you decide you don't really like it, you liked having those special things up on your fridge, then very selectively choose what you're going to put back on the fridge. Be really selective. Don't just put it all back by default. Just really choose what you're going to put back. Or another idea is, instead of on the front of your fridge, if you have like a side of your fridge that's exposed, maybe put your stuff on the side of the fridge so it's just less visible when you come in your kitchen. So that's, my tips for the fridge. Again, I would just encourage you to just try it, just for a week. Just see how you feel. If there's stuff you miss, like maybe you have a calendar and you're like, I'm lost without my calendar on the fridge, I need it on the fridge, then that tells you. That adds value to your life, and that's worth it to have it on your fridge. If you don't miss any of the stuff, that also tells you that maybe you don't need it all. So again, think of it as an experiment. You don't have to decide right now. Just try it. Just be open. So I will now share kind of my own experience. So I keep our counters very clear. I really dislike cooking and cleaning. So anything that makes that harder for me just drives me crazy. I just can't stand it. So I realized when I cleaned up our counters that cooking and cleaning was so much easier. I had all this space and I wasn't wiping around and under things. I didn't have to move things to clean up. So it really worked for me. So I started sharing about that on the blog and on Instagram, and I got quite a bit of pushback, really. People telling me that it looks cold, it looks sterile, it looks like nobody lives here. And so I would just like to touch on that a little bit, because my goal is to start the day and end the day with clear counters. But in the meantime, life happens, and our counters are never usually clear because, there's little life sprinkles all over them, like just the stuff that comes with living in your house. But for me, knowing that I clear them at the end of the day so I can start the day with clear counters, I know it never gets totally out of control. It's never like piles and piles and piles that are super hard and stressful to deal with. And it's kind of like a mental thing. When I go in there, I know our counters are usually clear. So when I go in and I see stuff on the counters, it's not adding to my mental work to sort through what needs to be put away and what's okay to stay. I'm not like constantly kind of evaluating that. I just walk in. If there's stuff on the counters, I know that will be put away. If not now, then at the end of the day when I clean up. So it takes away that bit of mental work to always be evaluating what needs to be put away, what's okay, and that really makes a big difference. So for me, it's just we start with this blank slate, and it makes life so much easier. It allows us to live more in the space instead of worrying about clutter or working around clutter. So that's kind of my experience. Oh, I'm reading Dallas's comments. She said, when we renovated our kitchen, I told the kids that the magnets wrecked these kinds of fridges because I like nothing on the fridge. And the kids hang stuff up on the second fridge in the laundry room. Brilliant. I love it. I should tell my kids that magnets wreck our fridge too. Because, yeah, we have a bulletin board for them, but sometimes they're really proud and they like to hang their stuff on the fridge. But I try to be selective, but I like a clear fridge too. That's a brilliant idea. I like it. So that's kind of my experience. So I really encourage you to just be open today. And I know, of course, this depends on like your cupboard space and the size of your kitchen. Some people just can't. You need the cupboards or the counter space to hold things because you just don't have the storage space. So there's no like one size fits all for everyone, but I just really encourage you to be open to it and be willing to think like, could I find a space for this somewhere else, or could I try living without this on my counter? Just because you never know until you try. And if you try it and it doesn't work, fine, now you know, right? But if you try it and you do like it, now you know. So that's for today's task. I am going to go right after I get off of this and take some pictures of my countertops, how they start. And like I said, they don't stay clear all day because we live here and we use the space and stuff gets on those spaces. But I'll just show you what I start with. And I can honestly say walking into the kitchen with the counters cleared is lovely. It is such a nice way to start the day. I'm not already assessing, does this need to be dealt with? Does this need to be dealt with? It's just clear. A blank slate for life to fill it up. All those life sprinkles. So I hope that's encouraging for you guys. I'm excited to see what you do. This has been a game changer in my own home, so I'm really excited to see you guys do this work today, and I can't wait to see the progress. So thank you for joining me. Oh, I blabbered on a little long again today too. So thank you for joining me. Happy decluttering. If you have any questions, post them in the group or reach out to me, and I will be back here tomorrow for another Facebook Live, 9 a.m. And tomorrow's task is kind of a fun one, so I'm excited. One more day in the kitchen, so I'm excited to share what we'll be doing. All right, happy decluttering, everybody. See you tomorrow.